How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious, coming to you with a short but comprehensive guide on the Dungeon Shop. So what is the Dungeon Shop? The Dungeon Shop is a in-game shop where you can spend in-game resources called Dungeon Crystals to get all these different goodies. You'll see I have an enormous stockpile, one of the biggest in the realm. I'll explain why I have this much. I barely ever bought a single thing in this shop. We'll come to that later, but I want to talk about what you can, on a monthly basis, look to spend these on as you get deeper and deeper into the game. If you're not knowing where you can get these dungeon crystals, this specific shop currency, it drops in Gear Dungeon 1 and in Gear Dungeon 2. If you don't know what the Gear Dungeons are, aka GR4 and GR5, these are unlocked once you have beaten stage 18 or higher in Gear 1, Gear 2, and Gear 3. In general, the drops in the Gear Dungeons blow. They are not good, and you might see this resource over here. This is called the Master Key. These you can get in a couple different ways. You can get them from the Awakening shop, like where you can spend your currency when you get those Awakening tokens from selling off duplicates or any unwanted epic or legendary heroes. They also drop when you're farming the gear raids. You can see I've amassed quite a lot, and quite frankly, I've never spent a single one ever. The reason for that is I'm waiting until the actual doing the runs in the gear dungeons, the drops improve. Right now, I think they're really subpar, and I'm expecting at some point in a month, in a year, in 3 years, at some point they've got to improve them, so I'm waiting. However, there is one static, there is one constant, there's something we always know we're going to get, and those are the dungeon crystals. So if you're wondering what's the difference between Gear Dungeon 1 and Gear 2, what's the difference in drops in Gear 4 and Gear 5, there's no difference at all. The only difference is you get two separate kinds of entry keys to do them every month. So if you don't touch your master keys like me, you get 100 of these dungeon key 1s. They kind of look like a diamond on the end. And then you've got 100 of these dungeon key 2s. They kind of look like a triangle at the end. I've already done my 100 runs of each this month, so you get 200 runs total a month. If you do some math with me quickly, you get 100 runs. If you're on the highest level as I am, you get 38 drops per clearance. That's 3,800 per dungeon. There are 2 dungeons. That means 7,600 dungeon crystals that you get to spend in the dungeon shop every month. Obviously, the amounts are lower when you're at lower levels. You see a pretty major boost at a couple different moments, but the key thing, if you can get to stage 9 or stage 10, it gets pretty dang juicy. After that, there's quite a nice jump. Actually, it kind of just goes up by 2s, doesn't it? You just want to get as high as you can get. Simple as that. Get as high as you can get, and then you'll amass some currency, which, like I said, I've been stockpiling, and then you can decide what to buy. So let's actually review every single resource here in the dungeon shop. Let me give you some advice on where to spend your currency, and hopefully I'll help you out a bit. Let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, first things first, let's address the elephant in the room, and that is, why do I have 57,512 dungeon crystals? Well, I've only ever bought like 5 things ever in the history of my account, in the history of the dungeon shop existing from here, and that's because I always thought the rewards were kind of suboptimal, and I was anticipating they were going to improve what they made available to you, or there'd be new exciting resources. And this was one of the times, it does happen a lot, that I was right. They started adding a lot better stuff. They started adding exclusive gear, which can be really hit and miss. They've started adding better guaranteed stat ancients. They've got new refinement crystals that didn't used to be here. Lots of things like that. I anticipated things would improve. They did. So last month, I actually filmed it, but I thought the video turned out pretty bad, so I never posted it. I popped my dungeon shop cherry, and I bought anything that was even a little bit of value just for fun. If you guys want to see that, I can release that as like members only or something, but I thought the video didn't turn out that well. But you can see I made one purchase so far this month. We can actually start here, and then we'll just go to the top and work our way down. But basically, if you don't know what unidentified gear is, this is a special kind of gear that you can go into the foundry near where the gear forge is, and you can identify. And when you do that, hopefully I have a piece so I can demonstrate it right now. You essentially get an ancient piece of gear, so guaranteed to have some relevant substats, and ideally, you typically guaranteed to roll well, though we've seen sometimes nowadays they're not rolling well. And then, no, I don't have anything to identify. And then it will come with a variant effect, so a special effect. So a variant piece of gear is an ancient piece of gear in every single way, except there's an additional effect. So here is a variant tempered will bangle. My additional effect is called Stoicism. Let me move my head out of the way. Plus 150 defense. So that's a nice little synergy. It's a tanky set with a tanky additional variant stat. Really good. Let's find another example. Fortitude, another nice little synergy. Let's go to this Infernal Roar one over here. You can see this is a little chance to deal some AoE physical damage. It can be pretty good. It can really be a nice thing. Think of it as a bonus. So why did I buy that first one and not the second one? So let's just start with these two items, and then, like I said, we'll work to the top. Well, every month so far, at least, right now, you can only get variant gear, if you didn't know, on weapons and bangles. That's it. They have not made variant gear available on breastplates, on amulets, on rings. And every month, there's one piece. It's totally random, so it is a gamble, right? You don't know what you're going to get. It could be like a really undesirable set. It could be a really undesirable main stat, just something you're not looking for. But one thing that is guaranteed with these separately, whether you notice it or not, is you see this question mark here is like gray with dark gray blue around it. That means this is guaranteed to be a tier 1 piece. And that is a big risk. I don't want tier 1 pieces on my account right now, so I'm not going to buy that. If we look at the one that I did buy, this bangle, it is yellow with red around it. It's kind of faded out, but take my word, that's what this is. This guarantees it will be at least tier 2 quality gear, if not tier 3. And obviously those are the better sets. With that tier 1 stuff, you can gamble and maybe you get a Calamity piece that you can ascend, or you get a Wisdom piece that you can ascend to Soulbound Arcana, exciting stuff like that. It can also be like a Fracture variant or something that really sucks like that you can't make use of. So to me, this is just not a worthy buy. If you want to gamble in your early or mid game or early part of the late game, you can do it. But if you're coming to this video for my general advice, I think that is a skip. I think this one, if you're willing to gamble a little bit, it is a buy. I personally would not buy it. The reason I did buy it last month and this month is because I reached a point where I have so much of this currency. I would have to be buying out the whole shop every month, including the bad buys, to get to a point where I have to start thinking about stuff. So I'm not going to buy the bad buys, but a little gamble of a buy, that works for me. But frankly, I don't think these are excellent purchases. Certainly, I don't think the one that's tier 1 is good. This you can totally go for. It's a reliable way to get at least one unidentified, then variant piece every month. If we go to the top now, let's start with the Sanguine Fabric and these Smoldering Scales. These are our 2 Forge currencies. It takes 20 of each to get 1 piece of gear from the Forge. Cool thing about the Forge, all the gear is guaranteed to be tier 3. Less cool thing, the stats are never guaranteed to be special. The ancient drop rates are very poor. The unidentified and then variant drop rates are poor. This is where you get your exclusive gear, so these can be really fun to use and you should stock them up. But in my opinion, this is not the way to stock them up. So like I said, even if you're super endgame like me or late game and you've beaten stage 10 in both gear dungeons, you're getting 7,600 dungeon crystals per month. If you buy out both of these, right, that's going to be 12,000. It's 200 just to buy 20, 1 piece. That's what this is. 20 of the materials equals 1 piece. So if I want to get all 30 pieces, that's going to come out to 6,000 dungeon crystals. So you're spending 6,000 dungeon crystals, which is like double this unidentified tier 1. And I think this one's like 4,000. So it's like 1.5 times this for 30 random shots, like 30 pulls of gear, where like probably 28 of them will suck. Maybe all 30 of them will suck. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Just farm these up naturally. You get them, they drop in the gear dungeons in GR4 and GR5, and they always drop in the normal gear raids. It will take time, but you will amass them, and you'll get plenty. These are the worst buys. These exist right at the front to confuse you when you first unlock the shop. Originally, your shop is not going to look like this with everything unlocked. This comes as you beat further and further stages in each gear dungeon. This is the first thing you see. I think they're banking on the fact that people are going to think it's a good buy and waste their currency. This is crazy. 1 piece for 200 dungeon crystals is lunacy. You can get a guaranteed ancient for 10 times that. So for 10 random pieces or 1 guaranteed ancient, what's it going to be? Not even that I think this is a great buy, but this is a disaster. Do not buy this. Continuing on, the auto fights. I know some of you guys really feel like auto fights are in short supply. Get them from the Dwarven Association, the normal market. Get them for a couple diamonds, or realistically only buy them for the gold. This is really expensive. You want to buy all this, it's 500 dungeon crystals for 400. There's an argument if you just are looking for convenience, but if you're watching this video because you want to be efficient and you want to min-max, this is not the move. You can farm like using BlueStacks and stuff. I haven't covered it, but R-Type made a great video, so happily go check that out. It's like 3 or 4 minutes, and it shows you how you can use macros to do it. It's very much a gray area in this game, but every top player does it. So go check it out. The gold bonus, this is a complete and utter disaster. Please do not buy this for 400 dungeon crystals. So you can see, I think this whole top line is trash. Here we've got a random mythic piece of gear. You heard me right. A random piece of gear for 200 dungeon crystals. This so easily will be a salvation weapon with attack bonus, flat defense, flat HP, and heal effect or something, which I guess wouldn't even be the worst thing in the world because you had attack bonus, heal effect. But you know what I'm saying? It's going to be trash. Do not buy this. Now moving on to the better buys. So here we've got a nice little thing. These are 5 fragments. So you need 30 fragments or 30 shards, 5 shards, each a pop here for 100 dungeon crystals. You need 30 to get 1 fusion of a thing. So the thing in question would be a recasting hammer. I think these are tremendously valuable. Exclusive gear is really, really hard to get, and it's really hard when it rolls well. So essentially, with your exclusive gear, occasionally you'll get an exclusive piece from the forge, and it will have the right substats, and it will roll. But very often, the way it's going to go is it takes a really long time just to find that piece with the right substats, and then it rolls like crap. That's what these gear recasting hammers are for. On average, it's going to take at least 5, if not 10 hammers, could even be more, to get those stats to start rolling the way you want them to. So I think this is like basically a must buy. It might seem like a lot just for these fragments, but it actually does add up. You can see for 15 fragments or 15 shards, aka half a hammer, that's 300 dungeon crystals. It costs 600 for one, so it's an equal value, right? So here they're valuing, what is this, 1/6 at 100, and they're valuing the whole thing at 600. So it is equal. I would do all of this. So every month you can buy, assuming the shop stays the same, you can buy these 2 for 600, so 1,200, and then another half for 300. So you spent 1,500 dungeon crystals of likely many more that you farmed up, and you've gotten 2.5 recasting hammers. It might not sound like much, but to me, that is a value. A random ancient mythic piece of gear for 2,000. To me, it's a pass. They don't guarantee the tier at all, so it could easily, like I said, just be a fracture piece, attack speed amulet or something that you literally will never use after like your first 2 or 3 months in the game. But if you're very early on and you're hurting for ancients and you haven't unlocked the whole shop and you just want to progress faster, this is something you can buy. So if you want to go big picture, I think it's a hard skip. Do not buy it. If you want to go more narrow picture and just what can boost my account the most in a given moment, this is maybe a worthy gamble. Like for all you know, it's a Soulbound Arcana ring with attack bonus as a main stat, right? That could be huge, but it very likely won't. But if you're early on and you just want a little boost, go for it. But anyone in the late or end game, please skip this. It is not a buy. We already discussed this. This is a big gamble. Feel free to gamble at your own risk. Maybe I'll even buy it in this video because we have the huge thing, just so I can show you. Probably it's going to go bad, and we'll see that. Now we've got something really special. To me, this is the single greatest value in the shop. This is number 1 on our must-buy list. Once you have at least this far in the shop unlocked, this is where you begin, and then you work backwards and see how much currency you have left. So for 2,000 a month, you can get 2 of these advanced refining crystals. These things are rare as heck. My account at this point is supremely endgame. I've beaten everything. I min-max everything. I own 10 of these. 10 of these, and I think I've used 2 or 3 ever. Right? So in the entire time these have existed, like half a year, I'm getting about 2 or 3, less than 3 a month. I'm getting like 2 a month, right? And that is with me every time I'm clearing Titanic Ruins and we get the we cleared it bonus as a guild, and I get to select of those 3 drop items. Every time I can get the 15 shards of an advanced refining crystal, so half an advanced refining crystal, I am taking it. And even with all those decisions I've been making, I've only gotten like 12 in the whole time this has been here. Maybe it's 15, right? But less than 3 a month. So this is, start buying these too. I regret not buying these in the past. They were only recently added a couple months ago, but this is a must buy, and I'll prove it to you. I'll buy it right now, baby. The hammers, actually, I told you, to me, that is the next best thing, unless there's a very spicy ancient, which this one's kind of spicy. We'll discuss in a second, but we already discussed the hammers, so let's buy that. So you can see that's 15 shards. That's half a recasting hammer, and then I can buy 2 full hammers. So in total, I think this is pretty dang great. We've spent 1,500 between these 2 things and then 2,000 over here, and that comes out to, what, 3,500 that I've spent, and I'm coming at it with 2.5 hammers and 2 advanced refining crystals. That is really, really valuable, especially when you're deeper in the game. Now, this piece can often be really wacky. The rolls aren't guaranteed, but it is guaranteed that it's going to be ancient. They do tell you ahead of time what the substats are, and I believe these are the best substats we have ever seen. correct me if I'm wrong, people that have stayed on top of the dungeon shops. I think this is about as good as it's ever been. We've got our trifecta of DPS stats, the ones we're always looking for: attack bonus, crit rate, crit damage. And then the fourth stat, instead of being, you know, flat defense or heal effect or some I guess it couldn't be heal effect anymore because this is ancient, but something bogus like that, it's something quite useful. It's tankiness, it's HP bonus, and that becomes really relevant as you get deeper into the game. The only way this could be better is if this was somehow attack speed or rage regen or flat attack, but this is the fourth choice substat. This is phenomenal. We are going to buy that and we'll roll it in this video. I'll say it is pricey, so if you don't have a lot saved up, I still would go for this stuff first. But there is the argument, especially if you're more in the mid game or late game, if you get a piece with such good substats, it's probably worth it because you're only gambling on how well they're going to roll. You're not gambling on what they're going to be. Where everything else over here and here and here, you're gambling on what it's going to be. You know what the set is. You know it's a good tier 3. Wicked Vengeance is nice. You know you got 4 great substats. So it's like, how high are they going to roll? They should roll pretty high. It's an ancient. So let's purchase that. Nice little thumbs up. Let's lock that. We already discussed these. Finally, something they just started doing, one of the things I was waiting for, and one of the most controversial things in the shop. This is going to be the exclusive piece of gear. So they did this previously with the Dolores amulet. Now they're doing this with an Arrogance amulet. So it's guaranteed to be Arrogance's amulet, which means it comes with his special exclusive gear effect. And it is guaranteed to be Cataclysm and attack bonus main stat. Every exclusive piece of gear, we already know what slot it's going to be and what main stat and what set it's going to be. So it's going to be an attack bonus amulet, and it is going to be Cataclysm. However, the substats are not guaranteed at all. The one rule with exclusive gear is the first 2 substats are always guaranteed to be relevant. However, every character's exclusive gear has a different relevant pool. I could do a video on this if you guys want, but essentially Arrogance has several substats in that pool that can be guaranteed in the first 2. So it can go really bad. So I've actually pulled from the Forge in my time 6, I believe. Let's double check that. I think 6 Arrogance exclusive amulets. There you go. Never have I gotten crit rate on a single one. So you can see the 2 relevance here were crit damage and attack speed, but then the next 2 are random, and I got some defense stuff. Then I got flat attack and attack speed. Kind of crazy that they include flat attack in his pool, in my opinion. If it was just crit damage, attack speed, and crit rate, just those 3, you know, 2/3 of the time you'd be hitting crit rate, and that'd be great. But no, and then we got flat defense and heal effect, disaster, then crit damage and attack speed, crit damage and attack speed. These 2 are like identical. Holy crap. Look at those rolls. They're almost, are they identical? 74 and 77, and both 9.5% crit damage. Then crit damage and attack speed, and then crit damage and attack speed. So I've never hit. So for me, I am going to buy this right now because I'm very endgame, because I have a huge stockpile, and because that's like the only way you're going to complete a Cataclysm set, unless you get really lucky otherwise, is to get an Arrogance amulet or a Valeria amulet, which they just introduced. And I don't have either with the crit rate. I don't have a single one on my whole account. So I'm going to take the gamble, but I do think almost all the time, unless you specifically need it, as I specifically need it now, it is a bad gamble because the substats are not guaranteed and they can all roll crap. Exclusive gear rolls like normal gear. It's not like an ancient or variant where you have a much higher chance for high rolls. So we're going for random substats, random rolls here, kind of a disaster. But I wanted to bring up my case because in the past they had a Dolores amulet. So if you never had a Dolores amulet, probably worth it just for the effect. Arrogance, it's like if you just happen to be missing like 1 with crit rate like I am, maybe it's a worthy buy. But for 4,000, you know, the price of an unidentified guaranteed to be tier 2 or tier 3 with gonna roll well and gonna be a variant, compare this for 4,000 with a huge gamble, it's almost always a bad choice. I do think this is a situation for me right now where it's not. So let's take that. And you can see what a disaster. So now I have my 7th Arrogance amulet without crit rate. And it really drives me crazy, and I'm probably going to make a rant video eventually about the way they've chosen to select these substat pools, especially with the left side gear. It's crazy. But yeah, there you go. I gambled and I kind of lost because I might roll it if it rolls really well. Maybe I can find the crit elsewhere, but kind of a disaster, let's be honest. So to wrap things up, let's go here. Looks like they're still doing this stupid exclusive gear glitch. Let's take the Arrogance piece. Let's just roll it to 12. If the rolls are humongous, at least we don't have to feel disgusting. They're not good. This piece is going to get sold, right? So I spent 4,000 and you only get 7,800 a month. Is that what it is? Yes. So 7,600 a month for the average person, even when you're end game. You spend over half of that for that kind of gamble. It's a pretty bad buy, and I don't think you should do it. The other thing, let's see what I thought the good buy was. Let's go to that Wicked Vengeance Ancient. Hopefully this one makes it all worth it. Let's 16 this. So like pretty rough rolls, but it's worth it for the substats. Nothing was low. We'll definitely take it. Historically, it seems like when they have the guaranteed substat ancients, they don't roll crazy high. If you guys have ever had one roll really high, let me know. But you can't be upset about this. This is the kind of piece you can be happy to have on your account, especially if you're a little earlier in the game than me, maybe in the middle of the late game, just entered the end game. So I think I kind of proved both my points. This one was a worthy buy. The arrogance one was not. All right, I tried to be as succinct as I can. There's a lot to discuss when it comes to the dungeon shop. If you guys have any more questions, let me know in the comments below. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.